Ta-da.
Ta-da! Ta-da! Good morning. We are here.
Hello.
Wow, let's see what happened. Go ahead, Susie. I'm good on my end. Go ahead.
Okay, she's good on her end. That's Julie who's making this all happen. Welcome, everyone. It's Susie McCray and Julie Wen here with the first On Passive Spotlight. How you doing tonight, Julie? Well, it's night. Well, it's nighttime for me, but it's still afternoon for you. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Susie. It's so good to see you, and thank you for doing this with me. I really appreciate it. It's so honored to work with you, Susie, and I love the color on you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Today is August 3rd, 2022. Welcome to On Passive Spotlight. Susie, we both kind of came up with On Passive Spotlight, and I know we do have a little vision. Where would you like to share with everyone who's currently watching? What's our vision in On Passive Spotlight?
Sure, I'd love to. It's kind of like what our CEO Ash Mufareh kind of threw it out there to us to step it up a little bit, become more creative, add value back. We are representatives of this company. Whether you're watching and you're not a founder or you're interested in On Passive, we welcome you here. So we were talking about it, Julie and I, and we do have a lot of different webinars throughout On Passive, and they're all wonderful. The conversations about technology, about Bless, information, and we decided to do what we call On Passive Spotlight. And what our vision is that we're going to spotlight different founders around the globe so you can learn a little bit about them. And we're also going to spotlight some subjects and topics that we personally think other founders may find interesting or helpful, so we can add value back to you. So today is our first one. We're going to be doing these every Wednesday. They're not going to be long. They're just going to be us about a half an hour or so. We're going to ask for any kind of feedback throughout, which you can provide for us. And we just want to give something back that, like we said, would have a little value in it and allow us as founders, or even if you're watching and you're not a founder, some little things to maybe help you be a little bit better every day. I know that sounds a little trite, Julie, and maybe some of the things we talk about are things people already know, but I think we've got someone special today that we're going to spotlight, and they're going to help us talk about a certain subject. What do you think?
Absolutely, Susie, and I'm thankful that you brought it up, because I believe what we are sharing here comes straight from our heart. And we wanted to share it to the world, whether or not they're founders or not. So today in our holding room, we have another McCray being here, and I believe she is the beauty of the McCray. So,
Tish, come on, Tish. There she is. Yay. That's my sister Tish McCray, proud founder that she is. Twin sister to my brother and our brother Bob McCray, and we're just thrilled to have you on here, Tish. I'm gonna say a few things about Tish, and then Julie's gonna ask some questions. And Tish is our first On Passive founder spotlight. Yay! And then we're gonna go into one of our topics tonight. So Tish has a very interesting background. Tish is an entrepreneur in many, many ways. She's also an acupuncturist. So she has a lot of knowledge about health and wellness and how to live a great life. Tish lives in Huntington, New York, out in Long Island in the United States. And Tish also, besides being an acupuncturist, when I said entrepreneur, Tish has her own business with a food product that I'm sure she'll be able to tell us more detail about. And she's a great sister. The family always relies on her for any kind of questions about health and wellness. She's a bundle of knowledge. I'm sure we're going to have her on again. So Julie, if you want to ask Tish her first questions, then we'll tell her some more things that she's accomplished in her life that are going to surprise you. Go ahead, Julie.
I can't wait to get to that questions, but first, Tish, welcome to On Passive Spotlight. And I'd like to find out about your On Passive journey. When did you start, and how has the On Passive journey been for you?
So I started, I think Susie told our family about On Passive. It must be about 2.5 years ago, I think, January, maybe 2020. And from the get-go, I was very excited about what On Passive could do, could be. I have a small, in addition to being an acupuncturist, I started a small natural food company, Healthy Snacks. Right now I'm doing a gluten-free brownie with superfoods. But On Passive, you know, it's really hard being such a small guy with a business, and you're trying to fight the big guys on the internet and getting your site up and everything, and getting visibility on the internet, and having a one place to have all that you need. And On Passive was it. And as soon as she started explaining it all to me, it all started clicking into place, like, wow, that's exactly what I need. You know, it'll be one place for my shopping cart, my website, my email, everything. Right now, it's all farmed out to different places. It's confusing. It's not efficient the way I have to do it now. It's more expensive. It's not streamlined at all. And it's definitely not made for a small guy like me, you know, who doesn't have a lot of working capital, etc. So I immediately got excited, and watching it just unfold over the last couple of years has been a pleasure. You know, you don't really get that chance to see a company like this. You don't get to see the back office, to see how it's created, how it unfolds, how it grows to what it is. It's really exciting. It's really exciting.
Yay. I think you were one of the first in the family I think I talked to before I kind of sent it out to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, Tish, prior to that, you were trying to hire someone to do your marketing, traffic, SEO, and you were just extremely frustrated because it was going to cost oodles of money. You had a beautiful website, beautiful product, but eyes weren't seen on your product. So Tish was a prime example of someone out there who, you know, has a vision, a dream for herself, but just didn't have the right tools and resources. So she really saw that in On Passive.
Yep.
Now, another thing about Tish, which I'm going to segue into, and she always gets embarrassed when I say this, you see, there's 7 kids in our family, and there's a few that got the exercise gene. You know, I didn't quite get the exercise gene, even though I was an athlete in high school and college, you know, and I do like some forms of exercise. Tish McCray is a 2-time Ironman, one at Lake Placid and the other at Lake Zurich in Switzerland.
Yeah, Zurich. Yep. Lake Zurich.
And we're going to explain what an Ironman is if you don't know that, but Tish completed 2 Ironman. She traveled to Switzerland with 2 men who didn't finish, but Tish, because she's
girl power.
Girl power, she's disciplined. And, you know, one of the amazing things I think about that is the discipline. Plus, our older sister, Nancy, went and watched her in Lake Placid. And Nancy said it was amazing seeing the people in the Ironman. It was all different sizes, all different people, all different ages. But what it was people who were committed and dedicated to it, and they did it. So Tish, maybe you can tell us a little bit, what does an Ironman entail?
Well, it's a triathlon, which is you have 3 disciplines, swimming, biking, and running, but the Ironman is the longest distanced one. So you start off with a 2.4 mile swim, which took me about an hour and 15 minutes. And then you move on to the bike part, and that's 112 miles of biking. And then you finish it off with a marathon, which is 26.2 miles of running. And you start at 7 in the morning and you have to finish by midnight. And I finished, I think it was around 9:30 at night, my first one.
Wow.
Yeah, the whole day of going, but
I remember watching it. We had a link, and this was way back when the internet was still a little slow.
Yep.
But Tish had a link for us, and you could see. I actually got to see her crossing the finish line, and it was like,
wow.
Oh,
So that is so amazing. So today, really on Positive Spotlight, not only that we spotlight the founder, but we want to focusing on the topic. And obviously what you are doing right now, what you're telling us right now is your true commitment into what you want to do. You want to finish the Ironman and you committed to do that. And I believe being able to prepare for it has to have your determination, your drive, and your commitment. So Susie, today we want to talk about complain versus commitment. What we are seeing right here is a commitment from Tish. But let's talk about our life nowadays, the people that we see, the commitment that the people that we see daily. There are people that do complaints instead of commitment. Susie, do you want to kind of say what's the difference?
okay, yeah, because you know what kind of got me thinking about this was when our CEO Ash Mufareh was talking about language. And language is such an important factor in our life. And when I talk about these things, I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I had good mentors, though, that helped me identify certain things in our lives. And when Ash started talking about that, especially since as founders, we're going to need to provide feedback as we get ready to go to customers with our products, I started thinking about these different languages that I had learned. And one of them is about turning your complaint into a commitment. That's one of the basic ones. So what does that mean? There are complaints out there that people think are complaints that really aren't complaints. And I'm going to give you some examples. You could be out to dinner and you're like, oh, this food is so spicy. Not really a complaint, more of like a preference. Maybe that person really doesn't like spicy food. Boy, this room is cold. Preference. They're not really complaining. You may think of it as complaining, but they're not. But when there is a chronic complaint in someone's lives, our lives, your lives, we all possibly have a chronic complaint about a situation, about other people or whatever. What that does is it makes you realize, if you really look, that there is a hidden commitment to that complaint. Now, as founders in OnPassive, we have a very bright, hopeful life that we're living. So I think a lot of us are experiencing that when we are around people who are complaining, it creates a negative feeling and it brings us down, because when people start complaining about something, it automatically sets the tone and it gets everybody else complaining and it creates a negative effect. So why don't we look at what are you complaining about and how can you turn that into a commitment? And the topic we were thinking about tonight, because we have Tish, who is very, very well-versed and an advocate, and she walks the walk and talks the talk about wellness and health. So Julie and I were really thinking about, as founders, for all of us, we need to step it up to the next level. So with our mindset, with the way we show up every day, but there may be some health and wellness things that we need to look at. So a lot of people, Tish, in your practice, tell us, what are the complaints when people come to see you as an acupuncturist to help fix them? What are some of the top complaints you hear?
Yeah, so I would say that the top complaint would be fatigue. You know, people are running around crazy and just exhausted. Now, usually they're exhausted because they're not taking care of themselves. So I always go back to the basics with people. Whatever the complaint is, whether it's digestive, hormonal complaints, stress, fatigue, I always go back to the basics with them. And you really have to look, before anything else, you have to, are you getting a good night's sleep? Are you eating a basically clean, natural, healthy, nourishing diet? Do you have a little bit of sunshine and activity during the day? Do you have joy in your life? Are you happy? That all those things put together, if you can change, just start with one. You don't have to, I try not to give people, okay, you got to do all of this all now, change it in a week. That's just overwhelming. But if you give somebody just, okay, let's focus on getting better sleep. So I'll go over that in detail with them. And once they start getting better sleep, they feel a little better. Then they chip away at maybe, okay, let's attack diet now and see where I could probably tweak it a little. You don't have to have a perfect diet, but you need to, be mindful when you're eating. And then, fresh air and sunshine, maybe try and get out for a walk once a day. So once they start feeling better with some of the basic stuff, and they kind of get a little more healthy, you see, as the dust settles, you see what's left and how they feel. And often they feel great. There's nothing left. All these symptoms they thought were related to so many things. Oh, do I have this? Is this the diagnosis? Is that? No, you were just tired and not taking care of yourself. Get back to the basics. I do that first with all my patients, go over all of their lifestyle stuff, and it really makes a difference. It makes a huge difference.
But yeah, and the key point is they're complaining, but there's a hidden commitment because they wouldn't be going to you.
Well, that's what I say to them. Look, you're here. So you've made the first step. You're here. You've committed to come to see me. So let's get to work, and they are.
Exactly, because a lot of what the changing a complaint to a commitment, that hidden commitment is, it's something that an expectation they had that isn't fulfilled. They're stuck, they're frustrated. So what happens is we chronically complain about the same thing. And then we love bringing others in because you can see how the conversation, oh, with COVID, I gained 15 pounds. I'm not sleeping. I'm stressed out watching the news. And then the next person chimes in, oh yeah. And then this weather, and can you believe what's going on in the world? And all of a sudden it snowballs into a dialogue that isn't constructive, isn't positive. And I think a lot of us as founders can kind of identify that now as we are on this positive trend where we are joyful, we are happy, we are positive. And then when we get around that, sometimes we're not quite sure what to do with someone who is like chronically complaining. And what Julie and Tish and I are saying, you need to find out, is there a hidden commitment? Dig more into that person instead of continuing the conversation. Maybe they are committed to getting healthy or taking care of themselves. Maybe they are making excuses and they just need some help. Julie, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I also think that a lot of the things that people are tends to do is they try to stick around that vicious cycle every single day. It goes into a cycle. And I think by listening to what you're mentioning, Tish, and Susie also, I think there's a way that we all can break that bad habit, but focusing on that healthy habit. And it only starts with us making that decision to do it, right? It's all start with one. And that habit, once we build that, we'll be able to continue to get ourselves into the journey of being healthy.
So just like Susie says, it snowballs, the negative can snowball, but the positive can as well. And I find with my patients, once you just can nudge them, give them a little information or a little bit of homework, and if you can just get them to change a little bit and feel a little bit better, that's enough to get them a little bit of momentum forward to keep going. And it's just the nudge. And I think, that's what humans are meant to do, support and help and nudge each other in the right direction and give them information and support.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Tish. And you're talking about a lot of times people get like, they wake up on Monday and they're like, okay, I'm giving up this, I'm giving up that, I'm going to do that, I'm going to go to the gym. And, we end up setting ourselves up for failure.
Yep.
Whereas sometimes the little things that you can do, and we could be on here all day talking about how important hydration is. Are you drinking enough fluids? Like you said, are you getting restful sleep? I think one of the biggest things is stress in people's lives, the worry, the stress, the news, the media, watching the news.
People don't understand that stress affects your hormones.
Exactly.
And there are stress hormones, it even affects your insulin and your hunger hormones. So it's not just a feeling that you get, it has a physiological effect on you. And if people learn that, I think, they just have to understand. I mean, think about 20 years ago, we didn't even think about stress the same way we do now and how it actually really does affect you.
So going for a walk in nature, start off with small steps. Cut out. I remember a dietitian years ago when I worked, as a practice manager, saying she worked with people with that were overweight or had diabetes, and she's like, okay, instead of having Pop-Tarts for breakfast, let's substitute that for an egg and a piece of toast with almond butter or something on it. So instead of like trying to change everything, which, sets you up for failure, I always find take little steps every day. And like you said, Tish, if you start feeling better, then you're going to start doing other things.
And a bad habit can be, sorry to interrupt, a bad habit can be replaced with a good habit. Things become habitual. And if you do them long enough, the person is like, you know what, I do prefer that egg and toast in the morning. I don't want the Pop-Tart anymore. You just kind of have to get in the groove.
That's right.
And I so agree with you in the terms that you practice it, right? Because when you're hungry, if you grab the Pop-Tart, it's only filled you up for that moment, but it's going to get hungry again. You kind of practice yourself. You got to teach your body to absorb or to take the healthy food, because this is what I do every day. I'm not going to let me go hungry and then just grab anything right away. Right. Got to get something in and teach your body. So Tish, I know that we are, and Susie, I know we're kind of running out of the time here, but let's put an action plan. What people can do if they see this is very beneficial for them by practicing a good habit. What is the action plan that people can do at this point on? Maybe just a little, and how long should they practice that good healthy habit, Tish?
Well, I have a good habit I'd like to throw out there. And then before we go, I have something fun I want to do. So don't think there's no FUN F word in today's program. I think one of the things, and I am a sucker for it. And I think I'm speaking to a lot of people out there. You got your phone, you got your computer, you got email, you got messages, you're on the phone, you're replying to a text message, you're checking your email, you're applying to Messenger, then you've got WhatsApp, and then, oh, and then you're looking to something else is happening and you're back on it. That level of having all those browsers open, and trust me, I'm the queen of it myself, is exhausting. Exhausting because your brain, every time you switch gears, it takes you so many minutes to get back to what you were concentrating on. And you all know it. You know, when you're talking to someone and they're going, they're not listening to a damn word you're saying. They're typing a response to an important emergency text message they're getting. So there's this whole distraction thing in our society, up to the point where we've got the phone by our bed, you're checking it, and that is exhausting. And that kind of level of mental exhaustion can create sleep issues, can make you, want to eat something just because you're stressed out about something that and then it's one thing after another. And then, that 1 mile walk I was going to do this morning just didn't happen. So my advice for some small steps is to watch yourself tomorrow, everybody. And I'm going to watch myself too, because I'm chronic about that too, going back and forth. Do you start something and finish it, or are you bopping all over the place? Can you close a few of those browsers? Can you be okay that you didn't respond to something right away? That's my helpful tip. Julie?
Stay focused.
Stay focused.
Stay focused. Yes, I so agree with you. And I know I'm a queen of that here too, because you work on something and something pop up and then you went and opened it. But you know what? I so agree with you. And I think that's something that I need to work on to myself, is to stay focused, stay focused. That's my short version of the action plan.
Yeah,
Yep.
so for me, getting in nature allows me to do both those things. So I never work out in a gym. I just don't. I did all that training without a gym. I go outside. When I'm out in nature, I don't need the phone. I'm quiet. I'm focused. I'm just grounded. It's like nature's like a church for me. And so that personally works for me. But people are, being with my cat alone. I don't need my phone with my cat. I just need my cat on my lap, petting my cat. That's just such peaceful alone time. It really is helpful.
Wonderful. This has been wonderful. And we also encourage people, I think people are watching. If you want to reach out to Julie and I with any kind of tips you have that we can share. And then also, you founders out there, if you want to come on and be our next founder spotlight, would love to have you, where we can talk about what's important to you and maybe a subject that we find important to others. But I would like to end with something fun. So Tish, since you're the Tish, and you want to know the reason she's called Tish, her real name is Mary Ann McCrae, but when she was little, she used to imitate Morticia from the Addams Family, and her nickname was Tish, and we gave Tish that name. Just a little McCrae family tidbit. Okay, so I have this wonderful book called What Would You Rather Choose? Tish is laughing because this our sister Lisa kills us with this all the time. So I'm going to ask you, Tish. I have two, okay?
I'm ready.
Okay. Would you rather have 2 extra legs or eyes on your elbow?
I go with the 2 extra legs. 2 extra
Why?
legs.
You have to say why.
I could run faster.
All right. But then you'd have to buy more pants and socks.
Actually, now that I think about it, the elbow eyes might come in handy.
Okay, you know the rules. You only got to pick one. You got to stick with it.
Go with the legs, go with the legs.
Okay.
I would too. 2 legs. I love shoes, so.
Okay, here we go. One more fun one, and then we're gonna shut down the spotlight. 'Cause we're having too much fun. Would you rather have no teeth at all or 64 teeth?
Boy. How many do we have normally? Like 30?
32, 32.
So we have double?
That would be double.
So what would you rather have no teeth at all or have 64 teeth?
Oh, I might have to go with no teeth. Could then we get like false teeth on top of our no teeth?
Oh, no, it's either none or the 64, no China clippers.
64, gosh, that's a tough one. How about you?
I go with 64 because I'd rather have teeth to chew than
Yeah.
have no teeth.
Yeah, I just think,
Not good
oh,
for your
are you getting a
digestion.
lot of dental floss.
Oh, boy, yeah, that's a lot of brushing.
Okay, Tish,
It's okay. When on passive launch, I'll be able to go to the dentist or hire a dentist
No
just
problem.
every day brushing my teeth.
hey, can you pull 30 of these and kind of pull them back together?
Exactly.
There you go.
Oh my God, this has
Wow.
been
Tish,
for being in the hot seat. You're a good sport.
Oh,
And Julie and Tish, I got the feeling we're gonna have Tish on again because Tish
Absolutely.
really has some great subjects. Plus, she's a licensed acupuncturist. She studied in China and she taught out in Long Island. Tish is a wealth of knowledge. We always rely on her and she's a good sport. So all of you watching, if you're a founder and you would like to be spotlighted and talk a little bit about things in your life and then some things that we can give back to the other founders, you just reach out to Julie and I. Tish, we love you. Thanks for being
thank you.
on.
Suze, love you. Hi, Julie.
love you, Tish. Thanks so much for being here with us. And Susie, thank you for
Hi,
doing this.
everyone. My pleasure.
Founders, good night.
Good night.
Have a great
Everyone.
See you next week. See you next week, the same time. We have more topics. Remember, on Passive Spotlight, we'll spotlight everything that's valuable to the world. So come and join us. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night. Oh.